The pantry smelled like peanut butter when I opened it, and I hadn't brought any. I was there to drain lines and shut a lake house down for the season. Owner lived 3 states away. Keith under the rock. Easy money. I stood with the door hanging open, flashlight in my hand, and that sweet kid lunch smell rolled out like somebody had just unscrewed a jar. It didn't match the rest of the place. The rest of the place smelled like cold lake water, wet pine, and the stale, closed-up air you get when a building sits and sweats through the day. I checked the shelves. No har, just a few cans and decorative junk. The smell was real, though, thick, like it had soaked into the wood. I shut the pantry, and it still hung in the kitchen like a hand on my throat. I started doing that fast scan you do when something feels off. Closets, under beds, behind shower curtains, the little dead spaces where a person can hide. I didn't find a person, but I found signs of one. A damp ring on the bathroom counter, like a bottle had sat there. A single boot print in dried mud by the back door that didn't match my tread. A window screen in the mudroom leaned against the wall like someone had carried it in and forgot it. I found a wet towel on the bathroom floor, folded like somebody cared. The shower curtain stuck to itself, like it had been pulled back an hour ago. The drain had fresh little hairs clinging around the edge. I checked the trash and saw a torn peanut butter wrapper from one of those single-serve cups, the kind you dip pretzels in. That's when the pantry smell stopped being maybe and started being somebody ate in here. I checked the guest log on the counter. Blank. I checked the back door. Locked. Then I saw the window latch in the kitchen turn sideways, half-seated, like someone closed it in a hurry and hoped I wouldn't notice. I pressed my thumb into it, and it moved too easy, like the metal was warmed up from hands. I ran my fingers along the sill and felt grit, tiny grains of sand. I tried to do the normal explanations, because that's what you do when your stomach starts talking. Last renters. Cleaning crew. A neighbor with a spare key. Except the owner lived 3 states away and told me nobody had been there since the first cold snap. Also, who folded a wet towel on the damn floor? Who takes a screen off a window and puts it in the mudroom like it's part of the furniture? I stepped out onto the porch to call the owner. 1 bar barely. Straight to voicemail. I stood there listening to the lake slap the shore, slow and steady, like it was practicing. Across the water, you could see other cabins with their shutters closed. No people, no cars, just the lake and the trees and that empty sound that makes you feel watched. I went back inside and did the work anyway, because I'm stubborn and I needed something to do with my hands. I shut off the main. I cracked faucets. Pipes coughed inside. I poured RV antifreeze into traps and kept glancing at that kitchen window like it was going to wink at me. I kept telling myself I'd finish quick and get out before dark. Then I kept finding one more thing to do. Outside, the lake wind shoved damp air under my jacket. The boathouse roof rattled when gusts hit. The dock creaked under nothing, just the weight of water moving. On the boards, I saw little bits of sand and lakeweed like someone had tracked it up. Near the ladder, the wood was darker, still wet, like feet had climbed out not long ago. That made my mouth go sour. By late afternoon, the light went flat and gray, and the place started feeling less like a job site and more like a waiting room. My phone was dying. The only spot with service was the front porch if I held it high and stood still. I should have left then. I knew it. But the checklist wasn't done, and my pride decided to drive. I did the dumb thing. I stayed. I grabbed a bag of flour from the pantry and dusted the boathouse floor in a thin strip, then dusted the inside sill of that kitchen window and a patch of floor beneath it. Old trick. You can't argue with footprints. I didn't dump it everywhere, just enough to catch pressure. I locked everything I could lock and shut all the lights off like that would give me some advantage. I kept my wrench on the coffee table like that was a plan. I sat on the couch in the dark with my phone on 1% and my keys between my fingers like claws. My hand cramped, and I kept readjusting, trying to find a grip that didn't feel pathetic. The lake kept making noise. Not storm noise, just constant water noise, and the dock answered every few minutes with a long wooden groan. The house answered with little ticks from cooling pipes, and every tick made me think of a nail moving. I stared at the kitchen window until my eyes hurt. Then I stared at the basement door because my brain decided to hate that too. Around 2 a.m., the dock creaked again. Slow, controlled, not the random flecks of water. One board, then another, like weight shifting carefully. My chest went tight. I listened so hard my ears hurt. Then the kitchen window eased up without a scrape like it got oiled. The screen wasn't there. It was just gone like someone had popped it out earlier and set it aside. A shape climbed in low and smooth, hands on the counter, knees up, then a soft drop to the floor. Bare feet. I saw toes for a second in the faint light from the lake, pale and spread wide like they'd been in cold water. My brain screamed at my body to stand up and do something. My body didn't move. I stayed sunk into the couch, trying to breathe quiet. The figure paused like it was listening to the house itself, like it could hear whether someone was awake. Then it moved down the hallway toward the bedrooms, not toward anything valuable. It moved like it already knew the layout, like it had walked it in daylight before. I heard a door handle turn. I heard the bathroom door bump the wall. I heard the shower curtain whisper as it got tugged, and I almost lost it because it sounded so normal. No water ran. No toilet flushed. It was checking, not using. Like it was making sure its stuff was still where it left it. The smell of peanut butter got stronger for a second, like the pantry opened. Then footsteps came back, slow and deliberate, crossing the kitchen without stepping hard. The figure stopped at the basement door. The knob turned. The door opened without a squeal. That's what scared me most, how quiet it was, like it had been handled 100 times. The shape went down the steps. The door closed gently, not even a click, like it knew how to set it so it wouldn't announce itself. I sat there until my legs cramped, waiting for it to come back up. Nothing, just the lake and the dock and the house, pretending it was empty. Dawn finally leaked in and made everything look normal again. I turned on every light fast, like flipping switches could erase the night. The flower didn't erase. In the morning, the flower held a clean set of bare footprints. Adult size, toes splayed like they'd been in cold water. They went straight from that kitchen window to the basement door. They didn't lead back out. They led to the basement door, like the person had simply stopped being above ground. I stood there with my hand on the knob, arguing with myself without words. Leave and never know. Or open it and confirm you're not crazy. I hate that I picked the second one. I opened it and stepped down into the basement, and the air hit me with damp dirt and piss and something sweet underneath, like peanut butter smeared on cardboard. You could hear the lake down there through the foundation, a soft, steady thump like a slow heart. I found the crawl space hatch popped. Not smashed, just unlatched and pushed up a couple inches like someone crawled through and didn't bother to seat it all the way. I lifted it and the smell got worse, warmer, lived in, like body heat trapped under a floor. Inside was a sleeping bag shoved against the foundation. Piss bottles lined up with caps on, neat as hell. A cheap lantern. A headlamp with a dead battery beside it. A grocery bag full of wrappers. A bar of soap in a Ziploc. A little stack of spare AA batteries. A damp towel rolled tight. In one corner, the missing window screen, rolled up like it mattered. And then, stacked tidy like a filing system, printed Zillow photos of this exact house. The dock, the boathouse, the kitchen, the basement door. Some of the pages had pen marks, circles around windows, arrows toward the crawlspace hatch, notes like quiet board and no light, and dates written in the margins. One sheet had a little sketch of the basement stairs with the exact step that squeaked crossed out, like someone had tested it and fixed it. I stood there with the flashlight shaking in my hand, and the dumbest thought hit me. What if it's still down here and it's listening to me breathe? My throat locked up. I backed out fast, try not to bang anything, try not to make the kind of noise that tells a person exactly where you are. I opened it and found the crawlspace hatch popped. Inside, a sleeping bag, piss bottles, and a neat stack of printed Zillow photos of this exact house. That's when it hit me. This wasn't some lost drunk. This was a routine. I scrubbed wine rings off the table while the lake sat black and flat behind the glass. The guests checked out late, left trash, left needles in the bathroom bin, left me doing my job at night because the host didn't give a shit. It was one of those cozy lake cabin rentals that looks cute online and feels cheap in person. Sticky drawer pulls, fake candles, a couch that holds every smell it's ever met. The host ran it like a vending machine. He'd ping me last minute, act like I should be grateful, then nitpick my photos if a towel corner didn't sit right. I needed the money, so I kept showing up. That night, I worked angry. I yanked sheets off beds, stuffed them into bags, wiped counters, bagged up beer cans, and kept finding little surprises people leave when they think service workers aren't real. A cracked glass under the sofa, a wet towel jammed behind the toilet, a smear of something on the fridge handle that I didn't want to identify. Then I opened the bathroom bin and saw the needles sitting there like a dare. No cap, no rab, just tusa. My stomach turned hard. I doubled a trash bag, pulled on thick gloves, and lifted them out like they were live wires. I wanted to text the host right then, tell him his guests were leaving sharps like assholes, but I already knew how that went. He'd blame me. He'd say I should have checked sooner. So I swallowed it and kept moving. I kept the TV on low even though I wasn't watching it. I just needed noise. The house got too quiet between thunder rumbles like it held its breath. I kept passing the big living room window as I went back and forth, and the lake behind it looked wrong, like a sheet of black plastic stretched tight. No ripple, no wind lines, nothing. Just flat and waiting. I noticed a light on the water first. 1 point low, moving without the bobbing you get from a normal boat. I stopped with cleaner dripping off my sponge and watched it slide across the lake like it was on a track. No wounding, no speed change. It moved straight and stopped exactly where the dock's end would line up with the living room window. That's not me being poetic. That's what my brain clocked, lined up, aimed, like whoever it was wanted that exact view. I grabbed my phone because that's what you do now. You reach for proof. 1 bar. Of course. Wi-Fi was dead again because thunder rolled and the cheap router blinked like it was dying. I opened the camera anyway. The screen stuttered, then showed nothing useful. The light on the lake came out as a small smear, like my phone didn't want to admit it existed. I tried zooming. It got worse. I put the phone down and stood there staring with my jaw clenched. My first thought was some guy fishing. My second thought was, why the hell would he stop right there, dead center, pointed at the house? I locked the slider, even though it was already locked, and kept cleaning because leaving felt like losing to something I couldn't prove. That sounds stupid, but it's true. I didn't want to be the cleaner who freaked out at a lake reflection and ran. I kept my hands busy. I sprayed the stovetop, scraped dried food off a pan, dumped coffee grounds, started the washer. I kept glancing up. The dot stayed there. No motor noise. No waves slapping the dock. Nothing. Just that steady point. Then I caught something in the window that snapped my attention hard. A reflection. Someone standing on the dock behind me. Not a shadow outside. In the glass itself. Like the window decided to show me something my eyes weren't catching. A human shape, upright, shoulders, head, close enough that it should have been obvious if I turned around. My skin went cold so fast I got goosebumps under my shirt. Spoon. Nobody. I looked out the slider, out the window, out toward the dock. Empty boards. Empty railing. Dark end. Nothing. I stood there with my breath stuck, listening for the dock to creak. It creaks when a squirrel runs on it. It didn't make a sound. I turned back to the window, and there it was again in the reflection. Same shape, same spot, too still. Like a cutout. I took 2 steps to the side. The reflection stayed behind me in the same place relative to my body, not the room. That's what made my stomach drop. It wasn't behaving like normal glass. It wasn't like, oh, you caught a weird angle. It was like the window wanted me to see it, but not see it directly. I tried to force logic onto it. I told myself it was my own outline doubled, a coat on a chair, the TV glare. So I moved again, slower, watching. The shape didn't match anything in the living room. It was taller than me, broader, and it didn't shift. People shift. Even when they stand still, they move a little. This didn't. I felt stupid standing there holding a candle holder like a weapon, but I held it anyway because my hands needed something. Then a hard tap hit the pane. Not from inside, from outside, from lakeside. One knock, sharp and clean, right at about chest height, like somebody wrapped a knuckle on glass to get my attention. My body jerked. I stumbled back and smacked my hip on the coffee table corner. I didn't even swear at first. I just stared at the window, breathing fast, waiting for a second tap that would mean this wasn't a fluke. The light on the lake didn't move. The reflection didn't move. And the house felt like it got smaller, like the air thickened. I raised my phone again with shaking hands, aimed it at the glass like I could catch the reflection on video. The screen showed my own face, pale and tight. And behind me, nothing. The reflection wasn't there on the phone. That part made me feel insane, like I was arguing with my own senses and losing. I tried calling someone anyway. No service. I tried texting. Nothing sent. I stood there, trapped between stay and finish the job and get out right now. And then my brain did that ugly survival math. The host doesn't pay enough for this. The towels aren't worth it. Your name isn't worth it. I grabbed my keys off the counter so hard they clinked, grabbed my bag, and walked backward toward the front door because I couldn't make myself turn fully away from that window. I didn't shut off lights. I didn't lock cabinets. I just got to the door, yanked it open, and cold air hit my face like a slap. The yard was dark and damp. The dock sat out there like a line drawn into the lake. I didn't see anyone. That didn't help. It almost felt worse, like whatever was messing with me didn't need to show itself the normal way. I half ran to my car, fingers fumbling the fob. I hit unlock, so the headlights flashed. The light on the water cut off instantly. The lake went dead again. That wasn't the guy turned off his lantern. That was immediate, like a response to my lights. Like it didn't want to be seen once I brought real light into it. My throat tightened, and I made this thin sound. Not even a word, just panic leaking out. I slid into the driver's seat, locked the doors, and sat there gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles hurt. The house lights glowed behind me, warm and normal, like nothing happened. That almost pissed me off, like the place could pretend. I started the car, and the radio blasted, and I flinched so hard my shoulders cramped. I threw it in reverse, backed out fast, and drove. The road out was narrow, trees close, no streetlights. Every reflective sign looked like eyes for a second. I kept checking the mirror. I kept expecting to see a figure on the dock or a light chasing me. Nothing. When I got into a spot with 2 bars, I called the host. Straight to voicemail. I texted him I had to leave because something was wrong at the property and I'd come back in daylight. I hated even writing it because it sounded soft, like I was making excuses. He didn't respond. I went home and took a shower that felt useless because I couldn't wash off the feeling of that tap. I barely slept. Every little apartment noise made me sit up. In the morning, I tried to talk myself down. Maybe it was kids messing around. Maybe it was a fisherman with a weird light. Maybe the reflection was just my tired brain doing tired brain shit. Then the host texted me a complaint. Why are there wet footprints on the dock? That message hit me like a punch. Wet footprints. Not dirt, not dry marks. Vet, like someone walked up out of the lake and paced the boards. And I hadn't gone out there. I hadn't opened the slider. I didn't step on that dock once. I stared at his text and felt my face go hot with anger because of course he made it about him, about his precious dock, like I was the problem. I wanted to tell him to go check his own damn property, to stop sending people to clean at night like it's safe, to stop treating the place like it can't bite back. But I also didn't want to say too much because I didn't want him to laugh at me or worse, ask me to prove it, and pull me back into that house. So I kept it simple. I told him I wasn't going back. He sent more messages, getting sharp, trying to guilt me, hinting he'd have to find someone reliable. I blocked him. He tried another number later. Blocked. I didn't go back. I still think about that tap sometimes when my apartment windows fog at night, and I get pissed because I know I didn't imagine it. The dock lights kept tripping the breaker, so I drove out after dinner, figuring I'd swap a GFCI and be home fast. The lake house was quiet in that way that feels fake, like someone hit mute on the world. I almost didn't go. I'd had a long day, and the text I got was the usual lazy crap. Dock lights keep popping. Can you just fix it real quick? Like I'm a walking hardware store. But I said yes anyway, because I'm the idiot who thinks being useful makes me untouchable. I threw a new GFCI, a couple wire nuts, my meter, and a headlamp in the truck and headed out. That last stretch of road was dead. No porch lights, no cars, no wind. My headlights cut through trees, and the beams didn't feel like they reached anything. When I pulled into the gravel spot by the boathouse, the only sound was my tires crunching. I shut the truck off, and the silence hit harder. No frogs, no bugs, no water slapping the dock. Just nothing. Like the whole place held its breath. I walked down to the dock because that's what I came for. I kept telling myself it was just damp wiring or a crack box. Simple. I knelt by the junction box and got the cover screws turning. The metal felt cold and greasy. When the cover came off, that smell rolled out. Sour under the cedar. Not algae, not fish. More like wet dog and dirty coins. It made my nose wrinkle like I'd opened a trash can that sat too long. The inside was packed with mud and dead bugs like somebody had stuffed it on purpose. Not a little dirt, not spiderwebs. A plug, thick, smeared in, with crushed beetles and wings stuck in it. I stared at it, and my first reaction wasn't fear. It was rage, because it wasn't lake house neglect. It looked done, like hands did it, like someone wanted that breaker to trip. I reached for my screwdriver and stepped back to set my tool bag down, and my boot caught a loose rope on the boards. I didn't even think trap. I thought stupid dock rope, and tried to lift my foot. It tightened around my ankle in one smooth pull. Not a snag, a pull. The loop cinched hard and yanked my leg out from under me. I hit the boards on my hip, teeth clacking, and I slid. My headlamp bounced, and my flashlight clattered away. The rope didn't jerk like someone panicked. It hauled, steady like a winch. I grabbed for a dock post and missed, and the next second, I was over the edge. Cold water slammed my ribs. I lost my breath on impact and then tried to inhale and sucked water instead. I coughed so hard my chest hurt. We'd wrapped my legs immediately, that slimy, stringy crap that hangs under docks, and it grabbed like it meant it. The rope kept pulling me away from the dock. Slow, constant, like whoever held it didn't need to hurry. I clawed at the dock edge and caught a post with one hand. The rope bit deeper, burning through my sock. I could feel it grinding on skin and bone. I tried to get my face up, tried to breathe, and kept choking because the water kept slapping my mouth every time I coughed. I kicked and hit weeds and nothing solid. I felt stupid and small and furious all at once. I got a finger under the rope and tried to pry it off. It cut into my finger. I sawed at it anyway because pain didn't matter. Then the rope went slack for half a second, just a half second, like whoever held it adjusted their grip. That moment snapped something in my head. It wasn't the lake. It wasn't bad luck. That slack felt like a person, a decision. And oops, let me fix my hole. That pissed me off more than the fear. I kicked harder, dragged myself along the post, and hauled my chest up onto the boards. My arms shook. My wet clothes stuck to the wood. The rope tightened again and tried to take me back under. I jammed my knee against the post and pulled like hell. I got my stomach onto the dock, then my hips, then my other knee. I was coughing and swearing and shaking, and I tore the rope off my ankle with both hands. I didn't untie anything. I ripped and yanked until the loop popped free and I rolled onto my side, breathing like I'd been sprinting. For a second, I just sat there, soaked, staring at the black water. My ankle throbbed. My sock had a red line seeping through it. I expected footsteps, a laugh, a voice, something human to explain it. Nothing came. The quiet stayed exactly the same, like the place didn't care if I lived. I forced myself up and limped along the boards, following where the rope had been. The wet wood made my shoes slip. My hands burned from the rope. My headlamp beam jittered because I couldn't stop shaking. I found the end of the rope on the boards. Cut clean, not frayed. Fresh. That's what made my stomach drop. A rope that old would look tired. This end looked sharp, like someone sliced it with a knife an hour ago and tied it neat. Someone had made a loop, placed it where a foot would catch, then stood somewhere in the dark and pulled. I swung my light around the shoreline. Trees, brush, the boathouse, shadows that sat too still. I couldn't see anyone, but I kept thinking they're close enough to do that. Close enough to watch me thrash. Close enough to hear me coughing and cussing. And they didn't run. They didn't rush. They just pulled. I grabbed my tool bag. Half of it was wet now because it had slid in with me, and stumbled back up the path. My ankle felt hot and numb at the same time. Every step made the rope burn scream again. I wanted to storm to the house and flip every light on and call somebody, but the house sat back there dark and quiet, and the idea of standing on that porch, fumbling with keys, made my skin crawl. If someone was out there, that porch would make me a target in a spotlight. So I did the most honest thing I could do. I ran for the truck like a coward. I yanked the door open, threw myself into the seat, and slammed it hard enough the whole cab shook. I locked it. I started the engine. I cranked the heater all the way up and just sat there with my hands on the wheel, dripping onto the floor mat. My breath came in rough bursts. My teeth chattered. My ankle pulsed with pain that felt stupidly personal, like a message. I peeled my shoe off and the sock stuck. When it finally came free, the skin around my ankle had a raw groove, red and swelling, with blood smeared into the fabric. Not deep enough to kill me, deep enough to remind me how close it got. I stared through the windshield toward the lake. From the truck, I couldn't see the junction box anymore, just the dock line and the water beyond it. Everything out there looked flat and dark. I kept expecting to see a silhouette step into the edge of my headlights, just to prove my brain right. Nothing. I grabbed my phone and texted the owner a quick "Doc's fucked." I slipped in. Need to come back. My fingers shook so bad I mistyped twice. They replied almost right away. Seriously? Are you okay? Did you fix it? That made me laugh, this ugly little sound. I typed back, no, and didn't send anything else because I didn't want to argue. I didn't want to explain. I didn't want to hear, maybe it was just a rope. I knew what I felt. That slack. That controlled pull. Then across the water, a motor hummed once. Low and short. Like a small boat fired up just to say I'm here. Then it shut off. No lights. No walk. Just a sound, and then the same dead silence again. My hands went cold on the wheel. I leaned forward and tried to see anything, any glint, any movement, but the lake stayed black. That one little hum felt like somebody clearing their throat in the dark, letting me know they could make noise if they wanted. I sat there longer than made sense, because leaving felt like turning my back. Staying felt worse. I kept scanning the tree line, checking my mirrors, listening for gravel crunch behind me. Nothing happened, which didn't calm me down. It just made it feel planned. Like the point wasn't to catch me. The point was to show me how easy it would be. Finally, I put the truck in reverse and backed out slow. Gravel cracked under my tires, and it sounded loud as hell. I stopped at the top of the drive and looked back one last time, half hoping I'd see someone so my brain could file it under some asshole. Still nothing. Just water, dock, trees, and that porch bulb making the dark look darker. I drove home soaked, ankle throbbing, heater blasting, and I kept checking my rear view like a maniac. I didn't go back the next day. I didn't go back at all. I mailed the owner the parts I'd bought and told them to hire an electrician and maybe a fucking security camera. They tried to call. I ignored it. What was I supposed to say? Someone tried to drag me under with a rope and then turn a boat on for 1 second like a signature. I still smell that sour wet dog coin stink sometimes when I open an old tool bag, and my ankle still has a thin pale line with a rope cut. It's not a cool scar. It's just proof I didn't imagine it. I sat in my truck with the heater blasting and watched the lake. A motor hummed once across the water, then shut off. No lights. Just that quiet again, like the place wanted me to shut up and leave.